so I don't know if she's coming in, but I have you all, and y'all have done your homework. And I want to once again compliment everybody. You all at least tried. And so that's what's real good. Yeah. Okay. So your homework assignment on this one was to photograph your water dropping into the pool, incense smoke, food color swirling through water and oil, and then trying the bubble. So I'll get to hear all of your trials and errors as you all were working on this one. So Catherine, I've got you going first this morning.
That was a challenge. And so it took me a while to figure out how to control the drops, for one thing. I tried several different strategies. I happened to have a microphone stand, so I could, with a boom, to go across. So I was able to I tried a plastic bag. I tried another little dropper that I have. And so the hardest part was just getting it to drop and, just get coordinated. And I used the gels on here. So this was a red one. What I liked about this one, this came out the clearest. And I even tried to do it so that I could photo stack, but I couldn't control the drop so that it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I like this one because I got a nice little reflection in there. So
and artistically it's very pretty, and it's just so deep red. It's red velvet almost.
Yeah. I found a little package. It wasn't but I don't know, maybe $12 that you can fit over the flash.
Correct.
And so it has a little Velcro thing, and it has a barn door. And so you just slip the little thing in there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And that's a nice little gadget to have because it doesn't take up much room, it just kind of, stays where you need it. But this one's really pretty. And also that you got the drop up in the air in focus, even though you're not flat to the film plane, you're at an angle. So I think that was, very daring to try to shoot down on it versus shooting straight across at it.
But I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get anything straight across.
Yeah.
And I did, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
So that's okay. That was when I just tilted it and went,
that's okay. It worked.
It happened.
Looks like it ought to be a commercial for red wine.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I needed when I was finished.
It's what Wayne said. He said this one almost drove him to drink. Yeah.
I think I did.
Yeah.
And then I changed it to blue.
This one's very pretty. Really pretty.
So.
Yeah. And then your container that you're dripping the water into, what are you using?
I couldn't find any. Well, I tried several different things, but I couldn't find a glass container that didn't have something on the bottom. And I even tried I don't know, I tried all kinds of stuff, but I couldn't get it to, and I have some really interesting photos of some of my other trials and errors, but I figured I didn't want to clutter up the Dropbox. But so I have some kind of interesting abstract looking things as it came out, but I ended up just putting it in a 9x12 baking pan with a dark bottom. And then I just pointed down.
Yeah. I found that the Silverstone pie round baking dishes work just as well. So the glass is nice because light can come up from the bottom, but sometimes that baking dish works just as well with a dark bottom. Yeah.
I tried about 3 or 4 different pans, and so finally I got something with this one.
It's artistically, I think it's very pretty, and I like the color of blue.
Oh yeah,
it's very nice.
I'm a big blue fan.
Yeah, it's pretty.
All right, smoke was a challenge. One night I set up because I thought it had to be dark, and somehow, I don't know, I missed some of the instructions, so I had to go online because number one, I could never see any smoke. And so it was like just kind of shoot, and nothing came out. I mean, I must have taken 50. I tried all these different things. And so then I thought, oh, wait a minute, maybe I missed something. And so that's when I took and put a continuous light on one side
Uh-huh,
and then my flash on the other side.
uh-huh.
And then I had a black background. And I think, and then I tried using my gels, but I don't know, for some reason they weren't coming out and I couldn't get the settings right. And so I just did them without any color
Uh-huh.
and then went in Lightroom and added, it comes out kind of blue anyway.
Yeah.
So the next day, I didn't even worry about night because I kept turning the light on and off. I mean, it was just like, this is when I was driven to drink.
Yeah.
And so then the next afternoon, I just kind of shut everything down off in my laundry room and I tried it again. And then had, waved my hand and blew the smoke. And so it
Uh-huh.
made all kinds of interesting designs.
Good.
But I've gone back to some of my other, I was actually out even doing it this morning. So I figured out how to post process and do all kinds of fun stuff with it. So I had
Very
fun.
good. Very good. Very good. This one's pretty. This one's very pretty. It's got a nice
Thank you.
pattern to it. And then here's your other one.
Yeah. And this is one I changed the color in Lightroom.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And what I would do is hold my hand down to push the smoke down, and then it would do those kind of funny things.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The swirls and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
once I could see the smoke, I did pretty well.
Yeah. Then you can have fun with it. Yeah. Yeah. This
Yeah.
one's pretty too. This is artistically very pretty with the flow of it. Yeah. Very good.
All right. I failed on this one. I have a glass top table
Uh-huh.
and I could, there was just too much. We have so many windows in our house that I couldn't get it. It was just too bright. So then I took it in another spot where I still have a lot of light, but I couldn't. And this, I used a Pyrex dish, a 9x12, so that I could move it over to the side
Uh-huh.
so that you didn't see the Pyrex emblem.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think this was, here's what I did on this one. I took my Pyrex dish and then I took 2 4x8 loaf pans and set the Pyrex dish on top of it so that at least there was some space. So there's about
Okay.
4 inches
Mm-hmm.
from a piece of wrapping. Actually, I think this was a bag that had these kind of blue dots on it.
Uh-huh.
And then this was the only thing that came out halfway decent. And I kind of had to do a little extra processing, but I just couldn't get the bubbles to show up with the olive oil.
Uh-huh. And are you under the plate? Because see, here's not condensation, but water drops that have dried.
I don't know because I'm pointed straight down
Yeah.
to the plane. And it could have just been that, the dish had water spots on it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. But it almost looks like you're shooting from underneath because the water spots are
Yeah.
on the dish. So it almost
Yeah.
looks like you're shooting underneath.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
I just went with that one. I was
Okay.
really tired of this one. This was
That's
not,
okay.
this one wasn't my,
I wonder
really
whether
into
the
it.
water was too deep. So you weren't getting the oil drops. Maybe the water was too deep.
I tried it both ways.
Uh-huh.
And I couldn't get, I think this one I finally did a little bit deeper because I thought, well, maybe it'll float to the top.
Yeah.
The first ones I couldn't get anything. And you can still see the yellow in the olive oil
Uh-huh.
because
Yeah.
I had a darker olive oil. That's all I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
had gone out I went to all the dollar stores looking for a clear plate and couldn't find anything. Just
So
gave up.
the next time you run across one in a cheap store, you'll go, it has no
I
emblem
will.
on the bottom of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I'll
look
buy
for
that one for photography, not for baking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. And then here's your
Yeah,
food
I
coloring.
loved this. Was fun. And what I used, I had one of those plastic storage containers
Mhm,
to
mhm,
use, like to put flour or whatever.
mhm,
And it was real wide. It's
mhm.
a wide and narrow, and so I could get lots of stuff. And so I dropped one, and then I just kept dropping colors in for fun.
Yeah. Very pretty. Artistically nice.
So I had fun with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's kind of easy.
Yeah, it was. This is my dragon.
I love it because see, I saw the same thing. I saw the dragon's
Yeah.
head. Do you all agree? Do you see it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
looks good.
I saw the dragon's head too immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one, I thought, well, I'll do that one again. I like
Mhm.
that and the smoke the best.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are my faves.
Very good. Good job.
Thanks.
Good job. And then here's your bubble.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and this was a challenge. The first time I mixed up the soap, I got this. And then I wasn't happy with the way it had come out. And I had to really, this photograph went through Lightroom. It went through Topaz denoise, Topaz sharpen. And I finally got something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So so my husband thought it looked like the world, or it was kind of
Uh-huh.
swirling around, or a
Mhm.
planet or something. So
Mhm.
it was all
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And
And then
this-
it's cropped too.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then this one probably, if the focus would have been maybe right in here, some depth of
Yeah.
field would have gone forward and backward, but it's really hard on the bubbles.
Yeah, I
And
just
then-
did.
And then here's
I
your
love-
other one.
This one I did straight down.
Uh-huh.
The other one was kind of, flat to the,
Yeah.
flat to the plane. But this one I kind of did straight down. And I just liked it because it looked like amoebas flying,
Mhm.
swimming around.
Yeah. 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 It is pretty.
So,
So very artistic and pretty and good
and
color.
so I went in because I had learned from the first time. And then after I had processed these, I was going to try it again. And I could never get the mixture right to get the colors to come up.
One more time. Yeah.
It was just, I don't know what I did different.
Interesting. Interesting. Good job. Good job. Okay. Any other frustrations that you didn't talk about?
No, I think that was it. The best thing is that it pushed me to do things I would never have tried on my
Mhm.
own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was fun. But I learned how to use my flash better.
Uh-huh.
And I used the gels, and then just working with my new camera too, trying to, and I messed up the settings once and then had to go back to the book and straighten it out because I was
Yeah.
pushing buttons and didn't
Yeah.
know what I was doing. So there was
It's good. That's
still
good.
learning going on.
Learning. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Linda, you did. Here's yours.
Yeah, this one wasn't as hard as the some of the others that I almost quit 10 times. But this is actually, so as you know, I was at the lake. I'd sent Kathy a photo, and this is a glass, from a French press pot. So
Uh-huh.
you can find it.
Okay.
And then it's on a dock. So that's where all the light is in the back. So I just kind of put it in there and put a couple of colors in there and took pictures. And I liked the water drop on the outside of the glass, so I left that there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think the water drop is interesting because it kind of puts it into context. I would have liked it better if there weren't so many dark colors over on this
Yeah,
side.
I agree. But when I tried to take them out, it just showed the streaks of the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah. 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 But it's pretty. And I do like the water drop on the side. I think that's really neat. And what's your background?
It's the lake. It's all lake in the background.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Lighten the exposure.
Uh-huh.
You can, here I'm pointing with my finger, you can't see it, but that gray going across a little bit would be the horizon a little bit from the lake.
Oh, okay. Very good. Doesn't look like a lake back there at all.
No.
No, no, very good. I thought it was a white background.
Oh, and the reason I'm looking up is I'm home and I have a big screen.
Uh-huh.
and
That's okay.
So I'm actually paying attention.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. See, Wayne's got his monitor over to the side. So I know that, I mean, not Wayne, Ed. So I know that, when y'all are looking around, sometimes you're
Yeah.
looking at monitors. So I get it. Yeah. That was good.
This I had a hard time with. As you know, I only have that ring flash.
Uh-huh.
and It doesn't fit my lenses because it's made for the macro lens from my old camera. So that's in a light box with a black background, and I put the blue gel on inside the light box and then just shined I'm looking at it, LED light on one side, and then I had red on the other, but it just didn't really work.
Yeah.
That was the best I could do with what I was working with.
Yeah. And remember, with the smoke, you've got to, the faster your shutter speed, the more defined this is going to be. The slower your shutter speed, the less defined the smoke is going to be.
Okay, so yeah, probably if I had maybe done that, that might have helped.
Yeah. 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 Artistically, though, it's a pretty shot.
Yeah, that's an old knob with like an old antique knob.
Oh, it is. It
Yeah,
is.
with my
Yeah.
dresser when I was a child.
Ah, see, I thought it was just this really cute little
No.
incense vase. No, it's
Well, I had
not.
to improvise. I had to do something.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. It's very good. So a nice artistic shot.
And then my oil, this is a glass top table. I wanted to use, I have a pink vintage glass bowl with little legs. And I put the oil and water in that. And that's why you see that little emblem thing, over
Uh-huh.
right? But I don't know. That's what I did.
Well, artistically, I think it's really pretty.
Okay.
The layout of it, the abstraction of it, you know, you don't really quite know what it is, but that's what's fun about these kind of macro shots, because we really don't know what it is. But the layout, you've got good lines to it. I love that whole gold pattern over here. I think that's really
I'm in
neat.
a Zoom meeting, gonna call you back.
And so I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've done one like this with a glass bowl on top of a glass table, with a pattern in the bottom of it also. And I got some that I like, but not enough to show you all. So, you know, so there is something to be said for a bowl with some patterns on it. Yeah, I think it's pretty.
Thank you. And I loved working with the bubbles once I figured out what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's where I almost quit 10 times. I ended up not working really well with the caps. I tried a black cap, a blue cap, a pink, red cap. And I ended up, this is in a glass, and I ended up putting the bubble solution in the glass and then blowing into the glass, and it made a bunch of bubbles. And then I would just quickly try to focus on bubble, all the different bubbles. And it was hard to focus.
Uh-huh.
I did like, it looks like a yoga mat or something to me. I
Well,
did
but
like-
why is it straight when it's a bubble? Why do you have a straight line?
I don't know.
I love it.
Turned out, it just, I darkened the background.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't make a straight line. That's how it came out.
It's just a glass with no pattern in it or anything, right?
The drinking glass, and
Just
I'm
a drinking
straight-
glass.
I'm straight down.
And you're looking straight down.
I'm looking straight down, and I
Wow.
guess just the way that bubble moved or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I've never seen one that's straight before.
Yeah, the other ones didn't really come out like that. Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it was just, there was a bunch of other bubbles pushing against it,
Uh-huh.
because there was a lot of bubbles in there.
Yeah.
It was just a drinking glass. It was actually, just this kind of glass.
Okay.
And I filled it all the way to the top with the bubbles, and then they would start to come down, and I was just shooting straight down into the glass.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I love it. I couldn't figure out how in the heck you got a straight line out of a
Who
bubble.
knows?
Uh-oh, now I'm going to try to duplicate it, and I'll never be able to duplicate it, and it'll drive me crazy. I have to spend hours on it. Yeah.
Well, that's what I did. And I had originally I started with a regular drinking straw,
Uh-huh.
and I wasn't getting larger bubbles. So I took a straw from one of my grandkids' drink bottles, those little fat straws.
Yep.
I used the fat straw to blow the bubbles.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've got some of those fat straws as well instead of the
Yeah.
thin straws. Yeah. 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 Anybody, Wayne, Ed, Catherine, anybody have an idea why this is straight? If you're looking straight down?
When I first saw it, I thought it was wrapping paper.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
that's,
it's-
I
Yeah,
got
I- What'd you say, Wayne? Sorry.
no idea.
Yeah. So Linda, I think it's a brilliant image. I think it's really, really good.
And it was in a light box. I took the top off the light box
Uh-huh.
and I just shot straight
Straight
down.
down.
I don't know if that, and it has a black background in the light
Uh-huh.
box with white sides where I showed the, showing the light through. So I don't know how that came out.
Cool. Cool.
Luck.
Really neat. Really
you.
neat. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Yeah.
And I just couldn't focus. I've got this whole jerry rig situation. I've got my my round ring light on my mother's hat stand. And I've got, Potter, I've got the camera up on cookbooks, and it was just the best I could do.
You got some splashes. And once again, this is looking down on the splash instead of straight across on the splash, but you stopped the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't, going straight across, I just couldn't get the, in focus. Well, that's not really
Yeah.
in focus either, but it was the best I could do. It was just a plain Pyrex pie plate.
Yeah. Very good. Oops. And that's all yours, right, Linda?
Yes.
Yeah. Good job. Good job. So your frustrations beating your head against a wall, lessons learned?
I want to do it again. It was one of those things where when I finally was like, okay, this is what you need to do. I definitely want to do those bubbles again.
Yeah.
But it was hard to stay in focus with those. It was tough. I mean, I was
Uh-huh.
snapping and snapping, and my hand was actually getting tired from holding the camera straight down.
Yeah. Yeah. You did a good job. Did a good job. Okay. Super. Wayne.
Of course, this is probably the easiest part of the whole exercise, but that one is, just a single color, and looks like, to me, kind of flowers
Mhm.
drooping down or whatever. So
Mhm.
nothing abnormal.
Yeah. And is this red food coloring or orange food coloring?
I believe it was red.
Red. Okay. Because I was wondering about the white balance, that it came out orange as opposed to being red.
Yeah.
And then here's your blue and red versus orange.
I believe that's, I don't know if I've changed to orange or not, but anyway, I do know it's blue.
Okay.
I don't know I can't remember what the other color was.
Usually we don't have orange. That's why I was asking about orange, because usually you would just mix red and yellow and you would make your orange if you were going to make orange.
Now, this one, I may have dropped a little bit of yellow in it
Okay.
when I did that. Because I know at one point I had 3 different colors I was using.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's why we've got the orange. Yeah. 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 This is neat. Now I took this one into Adobe Camera Raw. So you do the same thing if you all were using Lightroom. And I just took the white balance eyedropper right there and touched on the white, and that's the color I got. So in post-processing on these, especially on these food colorings, if you just take your white balance tool, it's right over there. It's off the screen. I cut it off. And touch something that should be white, then it changes the white balance on the whole photo. And then you could take your exposure slider and move it brighter if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So a little post-processing on that one. And here's your smoke. What'd you do with your smoke?
That one was kind of like, you couldn't hardly see the smoke.
Uh-huh.
Now, that one, I mean, I did change the color balance of that,
Uh-huh.
or the white, the white balance, because I had a black background.
Ah,
But I just had a real tough time of getting, the smoke, enough smoke to get anything. I probably shot about 50, 60 different shots and very little smoke.
yeah. Now, a lesson learned on the smoke also is that you have to turn off all the air conditioners,
Mhm.
because if the air is circulating, then the smoke won't form really nice patterns. So it has to be totally still. So this isn't something you can do on the back porch or something like that. So Catherine's laundry room is probably a good place to do this. So if you've got an air conditioner that's blowing air into the house, then the smoke won't eventually form really nice patterns.
I
Right.
raised,
And I turned off the AC too.
Did you? Yeah.
yeah, I put mine up to 80.
Okay. So you tried that and it still didn't make really nice smoke.
No, I mean, I guess I bought a cheap incense stick or something. I don't know. I mean, it's the only one I could find.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know if some incense sticks make more smoke than others or whatever.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to start smoking to try to get smoke from a cigarette.
Yeah. No, cigarettes don't work really well, by the way.
Okay.
They don't. It's
Good.
the incense. Yeah.
And then that's one, another, of course that, I tried it with, 2 flashes and, I just, and that one there is, the black background,
Mhm.
but, one camera off to the side and then, one flash off the side, the other flash, I couldn't move it, off to it was kind of to the left and front.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't get it and didn't have any gels or anything. So
Okay.
that's all I could do with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Water drops, that was another challenge, and of course didn't have much time to do anything to get the little dot out of it or anything like that. But tried different backgrounds and I had a kind of a matte blue background, but it never would, I couldn't get the flash to bounce off of it. Finally got a little brighter blue background. And so that's, trying to get in focus. After all said and done, I did notice, my f-stop was not, ended up with a 4 f-stop, which, didn't give me enough area for, to get a good focus.
Yeah. Super shallow f-stop. Yeah. Yeah. Your colors are good. And then here you got your splash. Look. Pretty cool right there.
One thing in focus.
One thing in focus, exactly. Just needed some more depth of field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the little white dot didn't have any time to go in and
Mhm.
clean it up or anything like that. But
Yeah.
that, I would have liked that had a better depth of field,
Mhm. Mhm.
on that particular splash.
Yep, exactly. And
Same
that's
thing.
that shallow depth of field, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then that, you're almost flat to the film plane, but a slight angle. So, just cutting across that just a little bit. It's got good shapes and patterns.
Yeah, now then, it took me forever to, to get my first drop to show up, so once I figured it out, well, it was time to quit.
Yes. That's how it always is.
So somebody had me on a deadline.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it always is. Yeah. When you're on a deadline, it's pain in the behind. Yeah. Good job. So one second, don't go first. So more lessons learned, Wayne?
Well, yeah, just don't beat yourself up.
It's true. It's just photography.
Yeah. But again, it gets you to, thinking differently of, how to handle your camera. Basically, since, normally I just shoot birds or animals,
Uh-huh.
and trying to do something differently, you have to learn the camera a little bit better than
Mhm.
than what I did.
Mhm. Yeah, good job. Good job. Okay, Ed.
Okay, these were, I have to be honest, some of these are from last year because I've been sick all freaking week. But the smoke one took me forever because I wound up finally having to burn about 4 or 5 incense sticks at the same time to get enough smoke so you could actually see it. So that's what this one was. It took forever to do, but finally, like I say, when I got a bunch of incense sticks, then I finally got, whoa, now finally.
Now you got enough smoke. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And remember, the faster the shutter speed, the more you're going to stop the pattern of the smoke.
Yeah.
And then it's those lights going through it, or the light going through it, that freezes everything.
And this is oil and water. And I got lucky. I dropped a little drop of, I can't remember if it was oil or water, but it must have been oil in the middle of that big bubble. And it kind of stayed and then picked up the color, dark color from the background. So I thought, oh, that'll work.
Yeah. 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 And what's your background? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember what the background was. But that's the easiest one I did in terms of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Here we got some windows over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you start looking in there, you see all kinds of little things. I love that little black dot in the middle, though.
Yeah. And this was like everybody else is saying, this was hard. Hold on, let me turn this phone off. Anyway, this was hard. And finally I had a friend come over and drop the drops for me while I was pushing the shutter speed. And anyway, the focus is a little soft and I never did understand why.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a little soft. Also, if you notice, there's a ghost of a drop right there.
Yeah, there is.
And there's a little ghost of this drop. So that's telling me that instead of being like 60th of a second on your shutter speed or 125th on your second on your shutter speed, you might have been a tiny bit slower than that, because once the flash hits, then there's still enough time for the shutter to be open so that you get the streak of the drop.
Yeah.
So maybe shutter was 30th of a second and instead of 60th of a second.
Right.
Yeah, because this is another one where we need the shutter speed to be, fairly fast to be able to stop those drops. It's a good setup, though. You got a good setup there.
Yeah, this took a long time.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it's once you get everything all set up, it's
Yeah.
very complicated.
Everything's on tripod. So
Yeah.
And this, I failed miserably last year on the sheen on the bubbles. And so I said, damn it, I'm going to try it again. And I could not get a sheen that would cover the whole bubble. And so I wound up with these little things that would pop up. And so I played with this for about an hour yesterday evening. And so anyway, I still haven't gotten this one to work like it's supposed to.
Well, but I like this again. This is like Linda's, that happy accident, where she got the straight sheen,
Yeah.
but then you've got, all the sort of subtle colors, and then all of a sudden, boom, right up on top of it, we got these bright jewel tones.
Yeah, that was amazing when they were showing up, because I took like 30 pictures and then went through them real quick in Adobe and looked at them. And there was two that were real close together, and this one and another one that I thought
Uh-huh.
would be pretty good.
Yeah, I think artistically, I think it's a very pretty image.
Yeah, but it's weird how the things form, the
Yes.
little form inside there. It's like,
Yeah.
how did that get going?
Yeah. And you know, the iridescence dissipates the thinner the bubble becomes. So when the bubble is at its thickest, that's when you get the most iridescence. And then you
Yeah.
can actually watch the iridescence just,
Fade.
yeah, I'm sure all of y'all you're shaking your head. So y'all saw that. You know,
Yeah.
it just all fades off as it goes. But I love it. I think you know, photographically, I think it's a really pretty image.
Yeah, one thing I did different this year though was I used a tiny little straw and made some tiny bubbles.
Uh-huh. Well, that just makes it harder to photograph them. Linda taught you to use the big straw.
I know I heard what she said, and I thought, well, I got good success. When I've got others where I have multiple of these
Uh-huh.
It
on
looks like a
various
turtle.
bubbles.
What, Linda?
I like that. It looks like a turtle underneath, and then he caught the amoeba or whatever it is on top. I think
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah, and it's so bright against all those other muted tones.
Ed, it's interesting. You said you used a smaller straw, because the first ones I did, I had a smaller straw, and then I threw that one away and then went the next day to try it. And I didn't have another tiny straw or a smaller one. And so all I had was a little bit bigger one, and then I couldn't get it to work. So I don't know, maybe we all blow differently. I don't know.
You know, it's weird how, you know, you can do it one way and then another way. And yeah. Good job. I think it's a nice image. I love it. Yeah. And it's interesting how you can kind of watch the iridescence disappearing off of the bubble over on this reflection.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could never get it. I could never take a picture when that was in focus. And this is
Yeah.
when I'm playing with the 500D screwed onto the macro lens.
Yeah. So trying to get even closer.
Yeah.
Good job. Okay. And lessons learned, Ed?
Patience. Other than that, it's just challenging. But it's kind of a fun exercise.
Yeah. It's they do force you to spend several hours with your camera and in your head trying to figure out how in the heck to make it work. So good job. I'm proud of you all because you all did it. You know, you worked really hard. You beat your head against a wall. That's the key. And, you know, sometimes as an adult, we just don't do that enough. We give up when it's not hard, when it's easy. And or we give up when it gets too hard. So I'm proud of you all. You did a good job. Okay, so lesson 4. Go ahead, Wayne.
I didn't pull any hair out.
We can tell. So lesson 4, I wanted to show you just a little bit of focus stacking with living things, because, you know, we were talking about macro subjects. We've been talking about macro subjects, but I wanted you all to see that you can do focus stacking with other types of subjects as well. This is my 500 millimeter lens with a 1.4x extender on it. So this means that I am at 720 millimeters, so, you know, which is a fairly good amount of telephoto. I'm at f11, and I went ahead and did the calculation, and the depth of field at f11 with 720 millimeters, or 700 millimeters, I'm sorry, 500 with 1.4 is 700 millimeters. At f11, the depth of field is 7/32 of an inch. That's it. So 7/32 of an inch. And my depth of field starts at 6 feet, 11 inches, and it ends at 7 feet, 8 inches. So Wayne and Ed, when we've got that 1 to 500 millimeter on, or 1 to 400 millimeter on, and we've got the 1.4x extender on it at f11, we don't have much depth of field. So, you know, we've got to think about that whenever we're photographing anything, is that we don't really have a lot of depth of field. So we can do focus stacking. So let me show you what I did. This is a focus stacked image. And all that I did was turn the camera on focus bracketing. So it's on the R5 or the R6. I turned it on focus bracketing and then set it for, say, 4 pictures. And then when you hold the button down once, it rapidly takes 4 pictures. So this is a focus stack of these sanderlings roosting on the beach. You can tell it's a focus stack because this guy has 2 beaks right there. And this guy has 3 legs.
Well, the 2 beaks, I thought, is because he had it open.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll just let you think that.
But the 3 legs is, yeah, now that's weird.
Yeah, the 3 legs is weird, but this is a focus stack. And then here's one piece, and here's another piece. And wait, and here's just one piece, so you can see what the shallow depth of field would be. And here's a focus stack, once again, taking about 4 pictures going all the way through. And you can tell that the head right here is weird on this preening sanderling. So the head's weird. Everything else worked pretty well. And if you blow it up, and then I fixed it. So all that I did, so here's what the focus stack was with the wonky head. And here's the fixed focus stack with the fixed head. And all that I did was I cut out that head and piece of moss on the good picture and pasted it on the focus stack. So on a focus stack, you can go into the original photograph and you can take that head off and paste it over that error right there. So everybody else stayed the same, but this guy preening ruined it. So we can focus stack live subjects, even such things as birds. So that focus stacking, you know, we learned it here, but that focus stacking becomes a really valuable tool and a really useful tool. And then here's another one right here, I think, a shallow depth of field. You see, this is f11. Look at that. This has got really shallow, focused on that front bird. And then here's a focus stack going all the way back. So here's the original image. And that's the focus stacked image. And the cameras make it super easy for us. I'm just going back and forth. The cameras make it super easy for us because in the Canons anyway, and we're all Canon here, is once we go into that focus bracketing and determine how much we want and set it appropriately. And then once you push one button, the shutter button, it just takes all the pictures that you set. So if you said 4, it takes 4. If you said 10, it takes 10. Make sense? So where we would have ended up with this, now we can get this if everybody behaves themselves and doesn't goof around. Yeah. So just as long as everybody behaves themselves. And then another thing that we can do on the smoke. So here's your incense smoke. And by the way, this is the incense smoke. I've got a gold gel on the left. I've got a blue gel on the right. I've got one flash on one side, another flash on the other side. So I'll talk about using multiple flashes in just a moment. And then I've got a black background. Shutter speed is 60th of a second. The meter does not balance. So that means that the flash does all the work. So when the flash hits the subject at the same time, it freezes everything. So the meter is not balanced in this case. And that gives you those kind of nice defined edges on the smoke. But then there's a way that you can also play with this smoke. So I can turn it into this. So I can take it from this to this by simply inverting the colors. And this, you can go from the red to the green by inverting the colors. So the way you do that, I took this from a student last year, is you go into your Lightroom or your Adobe Camera Raw, either one, or Photoshop, and you go to curves. And that should be your like second tab in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw is your curves. And this is your black side on your curves, and this is your white side on your curves. So this is your whitest white, and this is your blackest black. And all I'm going to do is invert those colors. So by taking your black all the way to the top and turning blacks into whites, and taking your whites and moving them all the way to the bottom and turning them into blacks, we invert the colors and everything in between. So went from that with the traditional blue background to that. And you see, all I did was just take the black and move it all the way to the top, and take the white and move it all the way to the bottom. So that's inverting the colors. And you can do this on any picture. And then here's the same thing. This is another smoke picture from student. And then we've got, that gives us the black background right here. And you notice that the curve gives us a whole bunch of black stuff, not much of the light stuff. Histogram doesn't go all the way across, but this is your whites. Invert the two colors, and now our background turns white, and whatever was white turns black. So it's an inverting of colors using your curves. Simple and easy to do, no layers. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Interesting, isn't it? And it's easy. And then if you want to, you can start playing around with in-betweens and see what you get. But it's just a nice way to turn what used to be solid black into solid white, and what used to be black white, turn it into black. So it's just a simple switching of your curves. Easy, easy, easy. Questions on that before I leave it?
One question, when you're doing the smoke on your flash, do you dial the flash down, or do you do full flash or
Full flash.
full flash? Okay.
Yeah. Which leads us to multiple flash. Any other questions before I leave that? No? Okay, so multiple flash. And Linda, you don't have a flash other than that ring light.
But
Right.
but it had all this stuff on the back and I didn't understand.
Yes, I know. I know. So right now on the market, there's a lot of people that are selling equipment. And so we've got a lot of used equipment on the market right now. We are all Canons. Catherine, you're a Z, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I keep lumping you in with all the rest of it, but the Z is the same way. There's a lot of Nikon equipment on the market. These flashes, even though Nikon and Canon have given us all kinds of new features on the flashes, there is nothing wrong with these 20-year-old flashes. So the Canon 430, the Nikon 500 SB, so Nikon 500 SB, the Canon 430, these are nice little originally $235 flashes, but these are great flashes to use, especially when we're using them for slaves, because both of these are good slaves. In the Canons, it would be your 550s. And once again, this can be almost a 25-year-old flash, but your 550 is a good master flash. And Catherine, yours would be the 700s or the 900s SB. So you can pick one of these up for I'm not going to say next to nothing right now, but you can pick these things up for not very much money. And they do allow us to do this multiple flash work. There are a lot of off brands out there right now, and some of these off brands work pretty well. I'm just not willing to try them. I would rather just go ahead and buy old Canons for my Canon systems. But with these flashes, so this is how we're going to set it on the back. We're going to set it on ETTNL right here. This is the same whether you're a Canon or a Nikon. TTNL means through the lens metering. So the light is coming through the lens and it's doing its metering system through the lens. Electronic through the lens metering means that the flash knows how far to send the light based on where your focus point is. So wherever you focus, that's how far the light is sent. And that's what this little scale is right down here on this flash. So wherever you focus, it's sending light from 18 meters to, it's sending the light from 4 meters to 18 meters. It'd help if I change it to feet since I don't know meters. And I have an f4.5, and wherever I focused, now it's going to send light from there to there. So that's what that little scale is showing you. As long as we use the camera in manual mode, aperture priority mode, or shutter priority mode, then the flash is paying attention to the camera. The flash is subordinate to the camera. Nikon, Catherine, you need to go into your flash controller and move your flash to rear or slow. And then that way it will work in aperture priority, because Nikon programmed their flashes. When you're in aperture priority, whether you like it or not, you have to use 60th of a second. You can't control your shutter speed in aperture priority. So you just have to go in and move your flash controller to rear. Once you do that once, you don't have to do it ever again. And then TTNL or ETTNL. And now whether we move the camera, the flash off camera or on camera, so whether it's on the top of the camera or whether we've got it on a cord. Did any of you all order an off-camera cord? Yeah, you did? Okay. It's a good little gadget to have. And once again, it doesn't cost very much money now because we can buy off brands. Then we can move the flash over to the side, hit the background of the water drop, for instance, so we can move the flash off of the camera. For the water drops, by the way, when I've got the flash going on the background, my cord is not long enough to do that. And so many times my cord is pulling the camera and it's a pain in the butt. So slave units, the 430s in Canon and the 500s in Nikon are slaves. They're not masters, or as Canon calls them, commanders. Excuse me, Nikon calls them commanders. But the 550s, the higher models of flashes are commanders. So we get the commander to fire the slave units, and then we can use as many slave units as we want.
What's
So-
a slave unit?
So a slave unit, these the 430 Canon is a slave. It's not a master, meaning it will be fired by other flashes, but it can't control the pack of
Oh, okay.
flashes.
Okay, so there's
So-
one master flash that runs the show and these other ones go along with it?
Correct, exactly. The other ones do whatever the master is telling them to do.
Okay.
We also have a small little gadget that Nikon or Canon, we can put on the top of our camera, and it fires all the slave units. So you don't need a master unit. You can use the controller. It's called a flash controller. And it cost about $235. So it depends on whether you want to invest in a flash controller or whether you want to invest in a master flash. So somehow you have to have a master flash, and somehow you have to have subordinate flashes, slaves. And so the lesser units are usually slaves. I also, by the way, have some 220s. These are Canons, 220s, little teeny weeny flashes, cost $125 each. And they are slaves, but they need a master to fire them. The same thing, Catherine, in Nikon, they're called 200s. And they're little teeny weeny they're little teeny weeny flashes. They're not as controllable as the 430s or the 500, but they still work pretty well. So I use them so I can travel to Costa Rica and I'm not taking up a lot of room carrying 9 flashes with me. So the 20s also. So what the flash does in our Nikon, in our macro photography is on this Buckeye butterfly. If I didn't use a flash, the tiny little iridescent cells in its wings would not show up. So some of the butterflies, some of the insects with metallic, that we won't get that iridescence popping back on us unless we use a flash.
Kathy, is the flash on the camera?
In this one, in this case, it's on the camera. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. So in this case, when you're outside, it's really hard to use it off camera. So, you know, unless you can set everything up. So in this instance, it's off camera and it's just off to the side. So I'm just holding it off to the side with its cord attached to it. And then the flash is coming in from the side to fill in the pitaya cactus bloom. And here, windows coming in from the right, flash is coming in from the left. So you can use window light and add your flashlight to it. So, you know, we can, it's nice to be able to use these flashes off camera with the cords. And then when we're out in the field, then I know Wayne, you've done this with me, and Ed, you've done this with me when we do the frogs in Costa Rica. But in this case, it's nice also to have maybe one flash off to the side and then maybe one flash in the middle, or have the flash off to the side on the cord so that we can get a more directional light instead of just a direct hit on the light. And this is balancing the light meter and making sure the scale's right in the middle, and then using the flash as a supplemental light off to the side. You can also use the continuous light. You all have all figured this out, that you can use the continuous light. What the continuous light does not do that the flash does is the continuous light does not stop motion. So if our light meter is not balanced and we're asking the flashes to do all of the work, then the flash will stop motion, where these continuous lights aren't bright enough to physically stop motion. So it's that flash going on and off in a split second that allows us to stop motion. So, but we can use one of these lights on the side and then then the flash on the top to stop motion. So we can use that type of stuff. So we can mix them. And then this is a Wimberley macro flash bracket. And the Wimberley company makes all kinds of different little gadgets for your camera. They make your plates on the bottom of the camera that hooks to the tripod. But then this one, here's where we put the plate of the camera right here. And then this articulating arm allows us to go in all kinds of different directions. And then you screw your flash on right here. And you use the foot of the flash. So inside your flash case, there is a little foot, a little black foot. And you put the foot on the flash. It has a thread on the bottom of it. And then you screw the flash onto this bracket. So this whole little bracket's about so big. And then you can move your flash around, up, down, wherever you want it to go so that it's all connected. But then you've got your cord that connects the flash to the camera. So this is a Wimberley F2 macro flash bracket. Teeny weeny thing, doesn't take up a lot of room, and it does come in really handy, especially, you know, if we're going to go outside and photograph spiders or something like that. I've got a black widow spider in my garage. She's been there forever. And I have to walk past her every time I empty the trash can. And I keep meaning to go photograph her, but you know, you see how fast I'm working on this one, right? You know? But this would be perfect for photographing her. Yeah. So multiple flashes. I know Wayne, you and Ed have both done this with me before, but to stop the action, stop the hummingbird wings, we have to use multiple flashes. So this whole thing, background, front of the hummingbird, side of the hummingbird, other side of the hummingbird, everything is being lit up by flashes. there's 3 slave units, one on the side, one on the other side, one on the background, because we have to light the background up, just like we did for our water drop. We have to light the background up. And then there's one flash coming in from the front. So by using those 4 flashes, one on the background, one on one side, one on the other side, one on the front, when the hummingbird comes in and gets the nectar out of the flower, then we can fire the camera, not the cannon, the camera. And with using 250th of a second shutter speed, it's not the shutter that's stopping the action, it's the flashes, because all the flashes go off at one time. And when we're using a multiple flash setup like this, we set the light meter so that it's a black photograph. So when the hummingbird comes in to the camera, if I didn't use the flashes, he would be in a solid black photograph. The photograph would be solid black. But by now using the flashes with the light meter set to what would be a solid black photograph, then all the flashes go off at one time, and that's what freezes all the wings. So it's a three slave units, 1 master setup. You can do this with 1 flash on the background and 1 flash on the hummingbird. So you can do this with 2 flashes. It sometimes doesn't look as good. If we can do it with 3 flashes or 4 flashes, then it looks even better. 6 flashes looks even better. Wayne, you were with me on this one, weren't you?
I've done some with you one time.
Yeah, this
in-
was
I think
Ecuador.
in Mendo.
We did it in Mendo. Yeah, this was in Mendo. Yeah. Yeah. So we can do the same thing with the water drops. 1 flash on the background, 1 flash on the side. So by the 1 flash coming in on the side, we don't want to flash it right in the front. We want to flash it to the side to give it direction. But by 1 flash on the background, we've got light coming off the background, and 1 flash on the side. So either one the side should be the master, because it's going to fire the one in the back as well. And then once again, we set the light meter to be solid black. That means that the light meter is over toward the negative on the scale. So when we get a solid black picture without the flashes, turn the flashes on, and now the flashes are doing all the work and lighting up the water drop.
Are you connecting all these flashes with cords?
No, the neat thing about the slave units is that red, that red panel on the center of a flash,
Mhm.
that is catching the light from the other flashes.
Oh. do
So
they have
that's
to
how they're
be-
firing. Mhm.
Do they have to be within so much distance from each other?
Usually, but even the little 220s, the teeny weeny flashes that I'm using now for this type of stuff instead of the big flashes, the 220s, we can be about 4 or 5 feet away from each other.
Okay.
Yeah, the closer they are, by the way, the faster the shutter speed. So the closer the flashes are to each other, the more that they're going to freeze. So it's not really the faster the shutter speed, but it's the faster they can discharge. The further away they are, the slower they discharge. And then this is a Silverstone pie plate, and you can see the reflection of the Silverstone in the bottom. So drop works well, the bottom didn't work well. So things like trying to get the water to drop off of the leaf, 2 flashes, 1 on the background, 1 on each side, the more we can freeze the motion. And then something like the bubbles going across a black background. So this is just blowing bubbles across a black background, set up with 2 flashes, 1 on each side, nothing on the background, just 2 flashes, 1 on each side. And then we essentially have a black photograph, except when the flashes go off. And then I'm just blowing the bubbles as they go across, and just fire, 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 fire with a cable release. And that gets them to stop, and that gets, nice round motions on the bubbles. So this is easier than doing the straw bubbles. This is just blowing bubbles across. So it makes it a little bit easier. So you learn how to do this inside your house, and you master it. And then when we go out in the field and we encounter the leaf cutting ants in Costa Rica, then we know, okay, one flash on the front, second flash on the side, second flash is set to a slave, first flash is set to a master, put the camera on the tripod, set everything for a 60th of a second, or the light meter being not balanced. And now we can light that whole little small area up with just 2 flashes and freeze the motions. So it just means you got to have all that equipment with you too. So remember your backgrounds, how important they are. And you work hard and set up this whole photograph, and then you realize your background is just horrible. And so keeping some black velvet, or I like black fleece because it doesn't reflect as much as velvet, or velveteen is better than velvet. Just keeping some black backgrounds in your supply closet, or some artificial backgrounds in your supply closet, using other flowers from the same group of flowers as your background. I brought a whole bunch of Gaillardia inside to photograph, and then this little old spider came out. So then I was photographing the spider instead of the Gaillardia. If you do a background, if you do a black background, it's going to change the photograph. So the gladiolas, the background here is just other gladiolas from the same bouquet. But then this is the black velvet draped over the gladiolas that are in the background. And then this background right here is tulip up against the glass on my back door. And the background is the cellophane from Scott's toilet paper, the wrapping that goes around Scott's toilet paper. And it is the blue of the Scott's toilet paper logo. And all I did was cut it out, wet it, and stick it on the glass. And then let the light shine through the glass. Same tulip, the logo from Bounty paper towels. So, artificial backgrounds can be anything that you want, but just remember, we got to make sure that they're in harmony with the harmony of the original subject. I showed you all this in the very beginning. And by the way, you see how old this flash is? It has a good old piece of duct tape right here. So, it still works, still does what I need it to do. This background is just a blurry photograph. And then I printed it on my DeskJet printer. It's not shiny. It's not on photo paper. It's just printed on my DeskJet printer. So so I have a bunch of these blurred photographs where sometimes I just don't throw them away. I just store them away as blurred photographs, and I use them as backgrounds when I need to. By the way, on that background instance, the last trip to Costa Rica, I took some backgrounds with me, but they were for doing hummingbirds, but they were blurred photographs from a previous trip. So once again, we take blurred photographs sometimes as photographers. It just happens. But instead of throwing them away, I turned them into backgrounds. And those I had printed at Kinko's on foam board. So they were a more sturdy background, but they were essentially from the same garden as where we were photographing hummingbirds. So here you see that I've got all the clamps that we were talking about in lesson 1. And then the Polyphemus moth cocoon is just up against that background. So lit from a couple of sides, background held in one direction. So sometimes we've got to use these clamps, artificial backgrounds, but just, you keep those artificial backgrounds, keep those blurry photographs because they might turn out to be artificial backgrounds you can use. And then also, you've already showed me that you all can be creative, but be creative with artificial backgrounds as well. These are those tiny micro crystal balls. And it's a mirror, Hobby Lobby. And then the background is a piece of sparkly paper that I found in the scrapbooking section. See that background? So it's just a piece of sparkly paper from the scrapbooking section at Hobby Lobby. And then that's what it looks like, reflecting in the mirror. So as you move the background around, you get different photographs. And then this is the window in my office as the background. Here's more sparkly lights from that same piece of paper. So here's what it looks like without the piece of paper. That's what it is. And here's what it looks like with the piece of paper as a background. And then move it around, different picture. So it just, you know, play around with different backgrounds and see what you get out of them. And then remember, with your macro photography, always go horizontal and always go vertical. Move that camera around, because each one of them is going to give you a different look. This is the 70-200 Canon lens f4. Super shallow depth of field at f4, but good enough for the Mexican hat. But the way that it makes the background is so pretty. And Catherine in Nikon, the 70-200 does exactly the same thing. So really, really nice lens with a beautiful blown out background to it. So remember that your camera goes vertical, your camera goes horizontal. And so by moving it around, we get our pictures looking different. So move that camera around. Just don't shoot everything horizontal. Do verticals as well. So it's a horizontal with the gladiolas, but then it's a vertical with the same gladiolas. So move those cameras around instead of thinking about cropping later on. Do them in the field. And then, you know, follow the lines of your subject. Move it where you move the camera horizontal or vertical so that you can follow the lines and make the photo look like you need it to look. So keep it going. And then remember that focus stacking that we've been doing. Okay. This is focus stacking as well. So this is an animal highway in Costa Rica. They put these above the man-made highways, and they are big, huge structures so that the monkeys and the other animals can climb across the highway so they don't have to go down on the road. I stayed in one spot and just fired like 5 shots, you know, because this monkey was running across the top of the animal highway. And so I just fired off 5 shots, and then I focus stacked it. So it's the exact same monkey, but you all don't know that. So we can focus stack these images in a lot of different ways. And so this is just, you know, it's just looking for, it's just focus stacking everything, and it doesn't know that there's the same monkeys just in different spots. So use these techniques for all kinds of different things as you see them coming into play. Okay. So travels with me. Linda and Ed, y'all are going to Northern Ireland with me.
I'm
So,
excited.
yeah.
Will you send us information on what we should bring equipment wise?
I will. You've got a long email coming shortly, and it's on equipment, and then also highlighting the hotels. And then the Norway Aurora Borealis still has room on it. Andalusia and Basque in October still has a couple of openings. Greece in November. We're going back to Costa Rica in February 2023. Ed and Wayne, you two have been with me to Costa Rica. This is the Rancho Naturalista Segevre Trogan Lodge route, the kind of traditional old-fashioned route that we did eons ago with some new things added into it. And then the Danube Delta in Romania, if the Ukrainian situation improves, in May 2023. And then classes coming up locally. I've got a bird photography class coming up on the 30th via Zoom, but I'm going to do it live at Precision Camera up here in the Woodlands also on the 10th. And then alternate processing's coming up, crystal ball photography, lens, which lens should I use, landscape photography, and then workflow for wildlife photographers is coming up as well. Okay, y'all have been a great class. Questions for me?
Oh, I've learned so much. It's
Oh,
been
good.
great. I have something with you next week, starting next week on Tuesday. I think it's an exposure.
What's coming up next Tuesday?
Yeah. Look on my phone.
Tuesday's basic photography.
Yeah, I was gonna, yes,
Oh, you're going to take basic photography
right.
just to make sure that woohoo, I went out of focus. Yeah,
Oh, yes, I need,
yeah.
Oh.
Just to make sure that we're all speaking the same language, right?
right. Now, will I need, I don't want to take everybody else's time, but I'm in Cincinnati and I'm heading to Austin on Thursday and taking my equipment.
Yes.
Do I need to do homework and have special equipment to go with me?
I will send that to you the day before, which I think is the 4th of July.
I'll
And
be
if,
on.
and if you want me to send it to you ahead of time, I will.
Yes, please, because
Yes,
I'm
okay.
leaving Thursday morning.
Okay, I'll send it to you ahead of time.
Okay,
Because
thanks.
there's just some things so you can set your camera so it's consistent with everybody else.
Okay, sounds good.
Kathy, what's alternate process?
Alternate processing is where I just explore all different kinds of ways to process your pictures, from Nick to textures to shifting the colors, just all kinds of different goofy ways to alternate process your pictures.
Gotcha.
I'll have to go out and see.
Any other questions?
No.
Nope.
Good.
Okay. I have enjoyed
Been
spending,
great.
I've enjoyed spending the last 4 weeks with you all. Thank you very much. You've been a really good class.
Oh,
I've
thank
enjoyed your
you.
pictures, and I will share this recording with you all tomorrow. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Uh-huh.
Likewise.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, and by the way, you all have, everybody has everybody's email, because I haven't been hiding you all on when I've sent out all the information to you all. So if you ever want to get in touch with each other, you have each other's emails.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.